Welcome to the Holistic Health Bites podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Nicholson, crime scene investigator turned functional health investigator. This podcast is here to share bite-sized episodes and unique interviews on a wide variety of health topics to empower, enlighten, and educate you to live your best, most vibrant life. Disclaimer: all information you hear on this podcast is for information only and constitutes individual opinions of the person speaking. This should not be taken as medical advice. Being a listener of this show does not initiate a practitioner-client relationship between you and the hosts or panelists on this show. Please discuss these topics with your medical professionals before making any changes to your health. Okay, let's dive in. Welcome back to the Holistic Health Bites podcast. Today we are having a conversation around autoimmunity and how that relates to metabolic health. And I am welcomed with special guest, Divya. Welcome, Divya. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you for welcoming me. It's a pleasure to talk to you about holistic health, about metabolism, autoimmunity. All of it are very close to my heart.
Yes, absolutely. We have similar training backgrounds, so this is going to be a really interesting conversation where we both focus a lot on, getting to the root cause, identifying where people are going wrong with their nutrition and their overall lifestyle. So I'm really excited to hear a little bit more about your perspective and the approach that you take with your clients. So if you will just do a quick introduction, tell everybody about you and kind of what you specialize in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll first go into a little bit of my backstory. How did I come into this field of health coaching and holistic health coaching, really? So I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder about 10 years ago. And it came with a bang to me because I had very bad flare-up of joint pains, of muscle stiffness all over my body. It was not just one joint or muscle, it was entire body, believe me. And then I also had these big red swollen eyes because of the dryness. The mouth was dry. And I was in a really bad shape. I was not able to move any joint. So which means that I was not able to sit down on my own or get up on my own. I needed help at that point. And it was excruciating at that time. It was excruciating not just for me, but also my entire family. My kids were young then. They were like 15 and 10, and they were like looking at me and feeling that I could feel that sorrow in their eyes, that what is happening to their mom.
Yeah.
And then it was a while before I could get a diagnosis. So that is another issue, right? We keep running from pillar to post for diagnosis, and we're not able to figure that out because on an average, it takes like 4 or 5 years for people to get the diagnosis. Luckily for me, I was able to get to a good rheumatologist in time, not wait for like a month 6 months or a year for the appointment. And he was new to the area, so I guess he also wanted his patients. And so he got me in. And he was a very knowledgeable rheumatologist. He diagnosed me with this autoimmune disorder called Sjogren's syndrome. And once he understood what's going on with me, we ran some tests and all, and I find out that, well, okay, I have a diagnosis now. I was diagnosed with Sjogren's syndrome because I had those antibodies running positive. And that was such a big relief for all of us that, okay, now we have a diagnosis. Now there's the road to wellness, that in front of us. But unfortunately, the answers that I get after the diagnosis are very standard, which is that it's an autoimmune disorder. Your body is attacking itself, and we don't know why. So we really don't know what to do about it except that manage your symptoms. And we can do that lifelong, but we cannot really cure you. And so we will give you medications, which will help you, calm down your symptoms. When they will stop working, we'll give you something stronger. And, that is how your life is going to be. And then I also looked up all the side effect of all these medications that if I would have had taken a toll on me, and they were not something I was not willing to accept that as my fate. And so I started doing my own research. I looked up a lot of supplements. I looked up all the different ways in which I could balance my body. I looked up Ayurveda because that's, kind of the medicine system from where I come from India. It's a 5,000-year-old medicine system, and it really works for chronic problems, at least. The thing is that the conventional medicine really shines when it comes to short-term problems, acute problems. But for chronic problems, I think all of the indigenous medical systems, medicine systems work. So whether it's Chinese medicine, whether it's Ayurveda, they all work. And it just pointed towards gut health for me. And I started working on my gut health. I started working on bringing my nervous system into a regulated mode, and doing some supplements, using the food as medicine. And fortunately for me, I was able to get into remission in about a year, and off all the medications in about well, let me reframe that. So I got into remission in a year, but all my pain was gone in a month, and then I was off
Awesome.
medication a year as well. So with my doctor's help, of course. So I did not do it all on my own, but he helped me in doing that. But once he realized that I don't need medications anymore. So that is really my story, and I've been in remission for all these 10 years now. I have developed this passion of helping women who have autoimmune disorders. I used to be working with women who have Sjogren's syndrome, but now I've kind of broadened it out because I have gotten trained in functional medicine, health coaching, which has really helped me to get to the root cause of every individual, because it's different for everyone. And then, yeah, that's my passion. I really, really, really love helping women with autoimmune disorders and help them get to the root cause and balance their bodies and get to that homeostatic state where all the ancient medicine systems want you to be in. So that's kind of my story. And yeah, so I've helped a ton of women, lots of women now, and I continue to do so. My target is to do at least 100 this year. So let's see.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love the story of, your doctor telling you that, your fate is just all these meds and you just have to keep
Mhm.
increasing the dose and just keep going down that path and you're just stuck with this forever. And you were like, yeah, no, I'm going to go a different way. Thanks.
Yeah.
I think that's such a powerful message to hear, because that's such a common thing that people hear is
Mhm.
that, this is your fate now, and you just are going to need stronger and stronger meds and more prescriptions. And then you're going to have to cover the side effects with other drugs and just all the things. And it's like, no, there's a completely different way that you can go. And it's,
100%.
yeah, it's
100%.
unfortunate that not everybody gets that message.
Yeah. And it's really, as a society, we have been programmed to believe that. And only those who have broken that matrix, so to say, have been able to realize that this is not true.
Yeah.
And that is also one of my purposes, for people to realize that, our body has the capability to heal itself when we give it the right conditions.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Remove the blocks and give it what it needs. And it has a powerful capacity to heal.
absolutely,
For
yes.
sure. So, what are some of the things that you found, whether it be in your own journey or with your client work, that maybe people are doing wrong, that are increasing the likelihood of developing an autoimmune condition, or that are making an existing one worse? Like, what are some of the mistakes people are making?
There are so many. Um, let's just get to the most simple things. So, food, right? The food that we eat in the Western world is filled with those pesticides. One of them is glyphosate, but that's not the only one. And all of that, when it enters our body, it acts as an antibiotic. So even if you're not taking an antibiotic, believe me, you are. So removing those foods, which means that removing GMO foods and switching to organic and local grown seasonal foods, is something that you can do. This is also something Ayurveda says that you should do for improving your health, because after all, um, if you go to the supermarket, you get all the fruits, all the vegetables all the time, which is not how the nature has things, right? So if you have ever grown food for yourself, which means even if you have a small kitchen garden at the back of your home, um, tomatoes don't grow in winters as well, right? And they grow very well in summers. So just an example. So when you go to the local farmers, local, places, you will get the local seasonal food, because that is the food that the nature has intended for you to eat. And that really helps. So it is also devoid of all those harmful chemicals that are wreaking all that havoc on your gut, because it does cause leaky gut. It causes those small gaps in your, the epithelial lining of your gut, which will let all those toxins enter, and the body will mistake it for its own cells. And then, the whole cascade of autoimmunity starts. So simplest thing to do is improve the way you eat.
Yeah, I love that. And it's both the food choices and the way you eat. Like you just said, it's the eating habits, it's the how often do you eat? Are you eating in seasonal?
Mhm.
I love that whole message. I think that's such a good thing that we're so used to just eating based on convenience or based on preferences instead of what your body actually needs. And if we shift that focus, we can do a whole lot of favors for our bodies for sure.
100%. Yeah. So for example, I was in India last week, and the foods in abundance there in winters are all those green leafy vegetables, those bitter foods which help your liver, those root vegetables like radishes, like carrots, which are all in season, but you don't get them in winters, sorry, in summers. So that they really help the liver, they stimulate your digestive system, they give you the right kind of let's say microbes, because after all, food also has microbes and we need them. And so yeah, eating local, eating seasonal really helps the body acclimatize to that particular weather and that climate. It really helps.
Yeah. So, what are some things, maybe a little bit beyond food? What are some other things? Maybe somebody doesn't know they have an autoimmune condition, but they have like all these weird symptoms that nobody can figure out, or they're just kind of fighting a battle and they can't get a name on it. They can't get anyone to believe them. What
Mhm.
would be some tips that you would tell someone to look for? What labs should they ask for? Who should they be going to see? What would you tell someone who's just suffering to figure out what it is they're dealing with?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I see so many women struggling with this problem. They have all these weird symptoms of extreme fatigue, of, all that body ache that keeps happening without, any explanation. And then so many other symptoms, but they have no answers because whenever they go to the doctor, they're like, well, your labs are normal. So you're fine. Just go back and come when you have more problems. So that is kind of like a cycle we're all stuck in. So what I do suggest, because all these symptoms are very, very indicative of that breakdown in the body that is happening, the metabolic breakdown, which actually is something that will lead the body to autoimmunity eventually. These are just early signs, right? So find a functional health practitioner who can, holistic health, functional health practitioner who can really help you nail down the root causes, because for someone it can be imbalanced hormones, for others it could be overactive immunity, for others it could be just imbalanced microbiome, which when taken care of it can help them get to that vibrant health state. And so it's different for everyone. So find a functional health practitioner who can do do that root cause analysis for you, and really help you uh, get your health improved inside out, not outside in.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of that's going to involve both talking to this functional practitioner who has seen, hundreds of cases of these things. And so they'll have just a better clue to begin with. And
Sure.
then also looking at labs and histories, and that it's a really comprehensive process because there's a lot of overlap between these things. You can have
Mhm.
fatigue for 100 different reasons.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can have skin issues for 100 different reasons. You can have digestive issues for 100 different reasons. And there's no one answer to
Yeah.
all of those reasons. You have to figure out what the reason is first, and then you can
Yeah.
be very strategic in how you solve it.
Yeah, and it's different for everyone, right? So for one person it could be candida, which is causing that fatigue. For other person it could be like, that blood sugar that is not being regulated, right? And someone else it could be that high cortisol that's taking a toll on your body. So really helping getting that help from a functional practitioner who can do those root causes, test your root causes by doing the functional labs, and then also give you a plan to improve, and not just do this, just the test, because just the testing is doesn't do anything. You have to have a plan to improve.
Yeah. Yeah. The test only tells you the answer. It doesn't tell you how
Yeah,
to fix it. And so, yeah,
exactly.
you still
Yeah.
need someone who actually knows what they're doing
Mhm.
to guide you in the process to actually unraveling it and getting back on track. And it's most likely probably
Absolutely.
not one thing. There's
Yeah.
probably a couple things. You're probably being exposed to something that you either didn't know or didn't know was a problem. You're
Yeah.
probably also, lacking in some nutrients or overdoing it on certain nutrients. You're probably also, sleep or stress or, there's all these other things. And there's probably a handful of things or more that
Yeah.
really need to be addressed to turn this around.
Yeah, and I think you've made a very important point there, Andrea, because it is never one thing. It is one after the other, which kind of plays like a dominoes effect, in which, one thing leads to the other, and then it circles back to that, main thing. So, for example, Candida produces a lot of hormone imbalances, produces a lot of sugar cravings. So you're eating a lot of sugar now, your blood sugar is regulated, right? Your hormones are imbalanced. So everything is kind of feeding into each other now. And so many reasons, right? And even now I've just talked about three. So it could be many more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would also say that I think it's really easy to get frustrated with how long it's taking. Like you said, you were pain-free in a month, but really it took a whole year to get to the full remission. So I think
Absolutely.
we also have to just go into this whole journey with the right mindset. Like finding the answers is the first thing. Figure out what it is that you're dealing with,
Mhm.
but then you have to just be patient. This stuff is not going to turn around overnight just because you now have a name for it.
Mhm.
Do you
Yeah.
find that with your clients as well, that sometimes people are just like, oh, it's not going
Yeah.
fast enough?
100%, 100%, because we are so used to that one pill for an ill kind of
Yeah.
mentality, which leads us into thinking that maybe this is also something when we'll start, will be, all of this will be gone in like a few months, but it's not the case. It takes patience, it takes time, it takes effort, and more, and the most important thing to realize is how many years did it take you to get here? Right. So for the body to bounce back, you have to give it that love and that affection and that patience, that it can really help, it can really heal you from the inside.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely something you need to, the listeners need to know that patience is needed when you're healing.
For sure. Yeah. If you've had this condition for 10 plus years,
Mm,
probably not going to turn around in a couple weeks. It's going to
absolutely.
take time. Your body has a
Mm.
lot to deal with to repair and replenish everything. And so, yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah, yeah. But once you start the healing journey, you're feeding into that positive feedback loop for your body. So trust me, you are getting there. It's just slow. So be patient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would be, we've talked about finding a practitioner and kind of really getting to what your true issue is. What would be some other like getting started things that people could do, maybe even before they get a diagnosis? What are some things that they could just implement today that might help them start feeling better, even if they don't have an actual diagnosis yet?
Yeah, sure. So for especially for people who have autoimmunity, inflammation is a huge, huge problem, right? So using a lot of ginger and turmeric in your diet, as well as, making teas out of it is really good because that helps the body to calm down that inflammation. And plus both of these also have antimicrobial properties. So if you have any microbes growing inside of you, which, pathogenic, I don't mean because we all have microbes and we need microbes. So I'm talking about the pathogenic microbes, then this will help to some extent to bring that down as well. So that is, something you can do. Uh, have an anti-inflammatory lifestyle. So don't eat foods which can cause inflammation. For example, gluten, for example, sugar, huge problem. Even white salt, the manufactured white salt. So use sea salt, use Himalayan salt. Don't use that manufactured um, regular salt, because the table salt, because that also causes inflammation. And apart from that, corn, soy, all these foods cause a lot of inflammation. In fact, if you are someone who has animal food, there's nothing wrong with it. Do not go into that herd mindset of vegan food, because it serves a lot of people but not all. So, and if you do eat animal food, do go for the grass fed, the very high quality kind of meat, which will help your body kind of get all the nutrients and reduce the inflammation instead of working as an inflammation source. So, doing an anti inflammatory lifestyle is very important. Uh, Fast paced lifestyle today for everyone. We have to meet that target. We have to get to that job in the morning, drop our kids off. So very, very stressful. So kind of take that time in the day to unwind, calm down your mind, and also focus on good quality, because that is also anti-inflammatory. Sleep is medicine. So yeah, those are some tips that will, I hope, help your listeners as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think those are great pieces of advice, regardless of what's going on with you. So even
Mhm.
if you
Yeah.
don't know or know that you don't have an autoimmune condition, these are
Mhm.
all just healthy habits that all of us can get into. I think that's all great advice.
Absolutely. And I think practitioners like you and me, that's what we do. We help our clients get into that habit, and adapt these things as a lifestyle, because if you do it today and you leave it tomorrow, you will again have the same health issues going forward. But we as practitioners, you and me, I think we help people to use these tips and then make them a lifestyle, because a lifestyle is something that stays for you for your life. So, it's very important to have that.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the labs that you look at and what are some maybe common things that you see pretty routinely with the labs that you do run? What are some, common imbalances that you see in people?
Absolutely. So we as a functional practitioner, I run about 5 labs. The first one is looking at the cortisol and hormone levels in the body, and that we do for like saliva. It is a saliva testing, so the kit is drop shipped at your home. You can just do it at your home at the convenience, and you just collect your saliva at 4 times in the day, starting from half an hour after getting up to the noon, and then afternoon and the evening. And once those tests come back, what we get as practitioners is, how is your cortisol playing out? How is your circadian rhythm going out? How is it balanced or not? Because there has to be a certain pattern for the circadian rhythm to work properly in the body, and if that is not working the way it should be, then cortisol levels are often, offset. So for some people, it is offset in the morning. For some people, it's offset in the night, and then they can't sleep properly. So all of these are patterns that I see. Then again, we also see the hormones in relation to the cortisol. So estrogen, progesterone for the women, testosterone for the men, and how they are playing out in relationship to the cortisol, and also the hormones are which make these sex hormones, so DHEA, and what is the relationship between cortisol and DHEA, and how that's playing out in particular case. Because if for someone cortisol is too high, then they are just burning themselves out, and they don't have that um, anabolic hormone, which helps them actually rebuild and repair. So cortisol actually breaks down the body because that's what its job is. And when we are too high on it, we are burning out our body. So that is something I see very commonly in most of the autoimmune patients. Then the other test that we do is, and of course, after analyzing this test, I also make a protocol in which they are able to balance all these hormones out, because first thing into anything is to, our body is such a intricate network of these chemical messengers called hormones, that if they are not balanced, then everything is like going haywire. And it also affects the blood sugars, because if too high the cortisol levels stay high for a long time, they will also affect the blood sugars levels, and ultimately leading to the diabetes situation, which is not good for anyone. And the second test that we run is the metabolic wellness profile, which is really testing your histamine levels. And it has markers like zonulin, DAO, histamine. All of those give us an idea of what is going on inside your gut. Zonulin is one of the markers which gives us an idea if the mucosal barrier is intact or not. So that is one of the tests. And we also do other tests which has GI map, which is we order through a physician. So this gives us a very, very good idea of what is the microbiome looking like. Do we have any pathogenic bacteria? Do we have any viruses? Do we have any parasites that we need to address? And then we look at it and accordingly work with our clients. H. pylori is a very common problem with people with autoimmunity, because H. pylori, lowers down the acid in the stomach, causes a lot of acid reflux as well. And then that is a, domino effect that helps the pancreas not produce as many enzymes, and then the digestion goes for a toss, and then the leaky gut. So how it's just a domino effect that keeps playing down. And apart from that, we also do food sensitivity test, which helps us understand what sensitivity is playing here, which is causing the high histamine, which is causing that response in the body, the histamine response in the body, and then, kind of calming it down from that point of view.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's very comprehensive. And there's
Very
so many overlaps with all of these different conditions that, like you said, you get one imbalance and it feeds into the next one and it feeds into the next one. And then it's a whole cascade. So yeah, I think it's really important to get, a wide look at what's going on in the body.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the more comprehensive your practitioner works on you comprehensively, the better chances of you are getting better.
Yeah. I love that. And I agree. I think I see all those same things in my clients. Lots of gut issues, lots of blood sugar issues, lots of cortisol imbalances and stress issues. And then a whole host of nutritional deficiencies that people are getting even when they're eating really clean diets. So yeah, there's a whole slew of things that we need to address so that you can feel your best.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if people are interested in learning more about your work or how they can work with you, what is the best way for people to find out more about you or reach out to you?
100%. My Instagram channel is Divya _functional_wellness is where they can reach me. They can book a call with me. They can download some freebies there as well. I'm also present on Facebook as well as LinkedIn. On Facebook, I am by the name of Shogren Solution. That is my page. And Divya Dhawan is my personal page, so they can reach out to me there as well. And then LinkedIn, I'm also present. My name on LinkedIn is Divya Dhawan again. So I can be reached out on all these 3 channels. And if someone wants to work with me, the best way is to book a call, which is absolutely free and complimentary. And then we can go forward from there and see how I can help them.
I love that. So simple. And we will definitely link up all of your contact information in the show notes. So it'll be super easy for people to just click on and get over to one of those places and communicate with you. So thank you so much for sharing your story and all of your tips and wisdom with everyone today about how they can identify and remedy their autoimmune situation.
Absolutely. It was such a pleasure talking to you. And I love talking about autoimmunity and how all of us can get better from it. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have a great message of healing and of finding answers. So definitely everyone out there, if you believe you have or you have an autoimmune condition, definitely don't give up. Don't just pop the pills and live with it. There's a lot you can do to reduce the symptoms and often fully reverse the condition. So definitely stick with it, find answers, and heal your body.
100%. Don't give up. Don't give up. Yep.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. We will catch you on future episodes. In the meantime, be well and vibrant. Thanks for being a faithful listener to the podcast. I'd love it if you left me a 5-star review on this podcast so that others can more easily find this valuable information. Did you know I also work one-on-one with clients? I approach solving health challenges like I approached solving crimes, by conducting a thorough investigation into your case. Sadly, hundreds of millions of people in the US have insulin resistance, prediabetes, and diabetes, and the vast majority have no idea. I'm here to fix that. If you struggle with low energy, stubborn weight, hypertension, sleep disturbances, or any other undesired symptoms, let's talk. All you have to do is schedule a free call. The link will be in the show notes. And no, you do not need to live near me.